All right, first of all, I want to tell you that I am, you're standing before you is and I have to look at my cheat sheet, a triumvirate. There are three of us. There is Chase, who you're looking at. There's Charlene, who I'll tell you about later. And then there is also Ms. Mamie. So remember that. There's Chase, Charlene, and Ms. Mamie. My life began as an abandoned child. I'm going to talk about creating life through my life. And as you see on the screen, I have creating life is chance, choice, creativity, and common sense. By the age of 3, I had already had 2 lives recreated for me. And life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Do you remember in the 60s, we were all looking for ourselves, trying to find myself? I remember that. And I worked hard at it. But by the age of 3, I had gone through 3 recreations brought on by others. Chance number 1, a blank slate, an abandoned, illegitimate child. Nothing there. Don't know a thing about him. Chance number 2, yep, that's me. A po foster child in the deep, deep south in the country somewhere. Then there's chance number 3. And by the way, chance is not just an opportunity, it's also a happenstance. And these were all, to me, happenstances. And they came about because of happenstance. Just happened that way. But by the age of 3, with chance number 3, I was adopted by a middle-class family in Virginia. And they took me home, and immediately I looked like this. Now, my mother swore that she had to take baby oil, not baby oil, because I don't even know if they made baby oil back then, but they had olive oil. She gave me olive oil baths so that I could have that smooth skin that I still have today. And she had to bathe. I was so crusty, rusty, and everything. She bathed me in a sink, putting this olive oil on to make my skin smooth. So she was a very particular person. And I want to let you know that I had some choices to make because of this. The hearts of a small children are delicate organs. A cruel beginning in the world can twist them into curious shapes. The heart of a hurt child can shrink so that forever afterward it is hard and pitted as a seed of a peach. But I had a choice. I may have been abused, and I was, and I made the choice to drink the milk or else. I drank the milk, but I still got the else. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. There was something there. Another choice, fake it. I grinned my way. I dreamed of all kinds of activities for myself. And in the beginning, it was all about creativity in the forefront. I was always making up everything I could think of to make my life better. I even made up a story about my real family and my real house where I used to live. It was so detailed. I lived on a horseshoe street. I had pink curtains at my window with little tiny birds in them. And I did all these things just to make sure that I could convince myself that I was okay. I also even talked about the time that my parents found me. I never told them the story, but I used to tell my friends in nursery school that my daddy came on an Indian reservation and kidnapped me from my real parents. And in the process of kidnapping me, they scalped his head, and that's why he was bald. I really did. And I even, by the time I got to elementary school, I kept adding to my stories. I said that I was really from Spokane, Washington. I've never been to Spokane, Washington. Don't even know where it is in the state, but it sounded like a cool place where Indians probably were from. What an exciting life I made up, right? Chance number 4, Charlene. This was the name that was given to me, and she is all female, ugly hairstyle, but that was back then. Didn't know what to do with the hair. All female, gotta be in love, likes cooking, and never liked cleaning. Like cooking and doing things in the house to make it pretty and everything, and wanted to just be loved. That was Charlene. Fortunately, sent to a Catholic boarding school. With such a bad relationship with the mama, it was the best thing, because I'm not telling you all the life story. This is not life story. This is about recreating my life. This is the first opportunity to recreate my life. I get to the convent, and thank God. And the nuns helped me out because I guess they knew I was a troubled child, because that's what my mother told them. I was a troubled child. And they found out the trouble was not just with me, it was with the family. And they taught me the best thing that I could ever learn. And it's something that I found out that Maya Angelou's grandmother taught her. And the way the nuns told it to me, you can read that, but I'll tell you what the nuns told me. They told me that we have to love all of God's creatures, no matter what. But you don't have to like their ways. And if Oprah had been around, then I would have said, oh, that was an aha moment for me. That helped me separate my mother, whom I should be loving, and knowing that this person made a choice in her life to go and get me out of that. You saw where I was from. Got me and took me in and cleaned me up and gave me everything that I could ask for if I were asking for it. And here I am, hating her at that point, and now I learned how to love her and yet not like her ways. So it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me and this was like my first recreation of understanding the difference in what my life had come to be. And I've common sense, sweet Charlene, there I am with a guy, first love of my life. High school still. I used to look pretty good back there, didn't I? Here at the high school, I had an intervention with significant positive outcome. I really had all the help I needed. I had all the books. I was reading Keloid. I was reading everything you could think of that was enlightening me and just giving me all the tools I needed to move forward with my life. And it was a very, very happy, happy time. In the beginning, when Charlene had the core beliefs of I was better than my mother led me to believe, I could do anything. All I had to do was have the belief and an opportunity. And I was not afraid of anything or anyone except my mother, okay? Now, this is when Charlene was truly enlightened. Off to college, in college, I think this was a college picture, in school, learning, get to college, parents are telling you what you're supposed to be doing. I wanted to do art. I wanted to be an artist. Oh, I got to be an artist. I want to draw. I want to paint. I want to design, whatever. My parents said, oh, no, you've got to have art education. You've got to have something to fall back on. So I took art education the first year. Didn't like the teachers. One teacher was demanding that in a figure drawing class, that I actually was painting one arm disproportionate to the other. And I said, if you want a perfect picture, get a freaking Polaroid. They had just come out with the perfect. I'm saying, come on now, this is art, okay? So I decided to change my career goals, and I went into accounting the very next year. Figuring that I would flunk, because I hated math and I was very poor in it in high school. And I just said, well, my parents will leave me alone. I can go do what I want to do if I flunk. I'll flunk out of school. But don't you know, Tandy or Texas Instruments, whoever it was at the time, came out with the first transistorized handheld calculators. And how are you going to flunk with that in accounting? So I became an accountant, believe it or not. And I also discovered this. I don't know if you all know this one, but this is something that I put up in every office I have, whether it's at home or anywhere else. But I discovered this, which also aided me in my growth into developing my common sense, and I try real hard to use this criteria of emotional maturity every day. Sometimes I get a little off, and I have to go back and revisit this, but it's something, if you've ever seen it, please look it up again so you can keep it. If you've never seen it, I know you've probably heard of Minninger, but if you haven't, check it out. You can Google it. It comes up online. It's fabulous, because the bottom line is you got to have the capacity to love. If you don't have the capacity to love, all that other stuff goes out the window. So bottom line is all about love, which is something that I thought I lacked in the very beginning and learned how to segue into it. Okay, so I got that. So by the time I segued from Charlene, I became Chase. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is me, okay? And I'd had 2 children by then. Oh, yeah. I didn't know if it was going to come out that big. I said, oh, my God. Okay. All right, well, Anyway, that's creativity at its core. Now, that was not go-go days. That was, some people in the room know about my topless go-go life. You have to make a plan, and you have to stick to it, and you have to make money for your children and everything. But anyway, this was theater. This was me getting back into the arts. I was an accountant by day, and I did theater when I could get a gig in theater. And then I also was a go-go dancer at night. Another whole story. But during the theater days, I started doing accounting for the theater companies I was working with, because they were always in the red and they were always complaining about we don't have any money for production. So first I started saying, okay, well, I'll do the production. I'll be production manager. This is another segue into recreating my life all over again. I'm still doing accounting, so I can production. I can keep up with the bills and see what we're doing and become like your executive producer. So I started doing that after doing being on stage, even though I kept on stage a little bit. And the next thing I know, I'm on the boards of theaters, and I'm doing, the treasurers and all that. So the next thing I know, I think I end up with festivals, because people started saying, oh, she knows theater people, she knows jugglers, she knows this and that. So then I get into all these little festivals, art festivals. By the time this came, this picture's from 1987, and it's Harbor Fest in Norfolk, Virginia. 3-day festival, 1.5 million people, 40 committees. All those people represent an executive on the committee. And my committee was land events. I was the land events chairperson, and I had 26 subcommittees, 400 volunteers, 8 stages, you name it, foot race, bike race, anything that happened on land was under my purview as a volunteer. As a volunteer. So that's the other part. And I have to tell you, I have to go back. Charlene learned all that from her mother, not the festivals, but volunteering. So those are some of the good things I picked up from Mom. Volunteer within your community. So as a volunteer, I was always in this setting. And also, like, Where's Waldo? But you can find me easy on this, okay? And you can find me easy in this room, too. So this is a very familiar setting for me. But by the time I got here, I knew I controlled my destiny. It was during the time I was in Norfolk in '87 that I said, I've got to make a life plan for myself. I finally said, make a plan. So I made a plan all the way through my early 50s, like about 55. Is that early? Yeah. Early 50s. And I knew that by the time I got to be 55, well, by the time I was 50-something, it was 2000, going into the millennium. And I knew where I wanted to be. Well, I got off track, as we sometimes do. I don't know what my next slide is. My head was tilted here, but I was still trying to remain level-headed. And I ended up moving to New Jersey. Now, how in the world did I get to New Jersey? Well, I had 2 children. One was in the military. He saved me some money. And then the other one was going off to college. And this was in '88, and I decided to branch out. And I said, I've got to do something to recreate my life by getting out of Norfolk, because the ceiling for salaries for me as an African American was very low, no matter, I was doing 3 festivals a year, the biggest one, and then 2 smaller ones. Had started my own organization, had been working at boards and everything of other organizations, but I could not get the job that was going to pay me even $20,000 a year. So I said, okay, I'm going to send out resumes. Creativity abounds. I put 8 resumes together on my 40th birthday, sent them, only 8, sent them to 3 different cities, Chicago, New York, and DC. Knowing that in June, because my birthday is in May 16th, in case anybody needs to know, and I knew that in June there was this major conference in Washington, D.C. for the arts of America, and I said, well, I can't afford to go to the conference, because I did have an arts job, but I can definitely afford to go to D.C. So I sent out a resume, nice glossy folder. On the outside of the folder, it had a little bumper sticker that said, are you ready for the 21st century? The chase is on. On the inside, there was a black and white glossy of me on the left-hand side with all the printed materials from all the things I had been doing in Norfolk. On the right-hand side, there was a cover letter that said, Yes, this is an unsolicited resume, but don't let it get buried too deep on your desk. You just might need me. Out of those 8 and I let them know I was going to be in D.C. at the conference, creativity, that weekend, because I figured most of them would be going. And sure enough, I got 3 callbacks, had 3 interviews, 2 out of New York, and 1 in New Jersey, because somebody in New York sent it to somebody in New Jersey, and then 1 out of Chicago. And I ended up coming to New Jersey, to Red Bank, and didn't know a soul. Not one single person did I know in New Jersey, in Red Bank area. Moved lock, stock, and barrel, put child in college, moved away, started all over again, lasted 8 months in Red Bank, working there, but that's okay. I found a job in Newark, New Jersey. Oh, the best time of my life. I still lived in Monmouth County, but worked in New Jersey. I can't remember the next slide either. Oh, can't go there, but got it back. Don't want you to see Miss Mamie yet. Anyway, worked in New Jersey and really enjoyed my time there doing creative things with a major corporation. Now, like I said, Chase, by that time, I was controlling my destiny. I was moving on. Then there's Miss Mamie. Miss Mamie is neither male nor female. No, Charlene is neither male nor Chase is neither male nor female. I'm getting mixed up on myself. Okay, there's Charlene, who's female. Chase is neither male nor female. Chase is all about business, rational to a fault. Then there's Miss Mamie. She came into her own right around the time of hitting like 45-ish, and she realized that, this is middle age, getting ready to hit 50. I know I'm enlightened. I've got to get myself together. I've already changed my careers. Well, kind of twice. And now I'm going to really come into my own. I moved to New Jersey. And now how I got here, I told you. Why, I told you. I stayed there. I stayed in Jersey, in northern Jersey, for like about 16 or 17 years. Then I moved to Philadelphia because after 9/11, funding for arts, because I was in the arts, funding for arts kind of dried up, and I moved on to Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, I don't know, how many of you all are from Philadelphia in this audience? How many are from Philadelphia in the audience? Okay. Oh, not many. I didn't like Philadelphia. Let's just say that. So glad there are not many of you here. Loved what I did. I worked in the Village of Arts and Humanities, which is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful organization, and did some wonderful, outstanding things, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the city itself, not the area I worked in anyway. So I ended up being lucky enough to get a grant to go to Barcelona, Spain for a writing conference. Well, not a conference, but a real retreat. Stayed there 2 weeks. Didn't know anybody. Again, it was a very familiar setting because I was the only person of any color in the place. And we all started talking. You know how you go to conferences, you say, oh, what are you doing this weekend, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to go sailing because that's something else I also do. And I think I have pictures of me sailing. Yes, there I am. That's my other chance. I do sail. I learned how to sail at 54 in Monmouth Beach. Okay, anyway, I wanted to sail while I was in Barcelona, so I already chartered a boat and had to have 3 people on the boat, myself, and I had to find 2 people. I went to the group of 21 people, and I said, is anybody interested in sailing? And they said, sure. I ended up with 2 boats. I had to have 17 people. So I had lots of stories that came about because of Miss Mamie, and there's lots more to tell, and I want you to know that I had 3 lives with multiple recreations within them. And we're all going through these lives. There's some more choices I made. We are what we think. We're all going through metamorphosis, recreating our lives, living and learning, being creative. But remember this. That's Miss Mamie. She's hard but fair. But remember this. Think. Think also about your life after death. And I'm not talking about where you're going, but about what you're leaving behind, your legacy. All that lives on, that's your life too. And I know my epitaph will read, Chase is just dead. She's not gone.